Absolutely playing that Slow King, but Ian is bringing some fresh, spicy plays with their Slow King variant. Ian has clearly put a lot of thought into this deck, and we'll just have to see how those decisions go. But let's see how our prize cards are looking. There's a lot of Ultra Balls.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of Ultra Balls and a couple of treats there. We do see that Drapion in the prizes for Ian alongside that Lily's Clefairy EX. We know how important that could be in a matchup against Dragapult. Paolo there with just the one Drak Cloak in the prizes. So we're going to be in for a real spectacle here.
I'm excited to see both players who will have definitely tested this matchup with incredible force. So both of our players look like they're about ready to rumble, and so are we. So let's see our round 9 Swiss. Our first match of phase 2 begins right here in New Orleans.
And Paolo is the one who's going to be kicking us off, Amy. With that Pokepad, simply, as we do have that Dreepy in the active spot, we're just going to be trying to set up the board because we want to be going into the Dracloaks. Just trying to get into that recon directives, get those consistency cards into and onto the board state before we can start firing off some really pivotal attacks with that Phantom Dive. Start trying to dismantle Ian's board.
Paolo goes ahead and grabs that first Dreepy, an incredibly important notion. And of course, he's just having a look through the deck now and checking how many energy we're looking at. Of course, Paolo just had a look at how many Pokemon he's got and what resources are going to be available to him throughout the game.
Yep, absolutely. Knowing how many energies you have access to, especially when you play cards like the Crispin, so you can start an energy acceleration to the board, is ever so important, as it is a pass over to Ian here.
A slow start for Paolo. Ian, can he respond by picking up the pace against Paolo? With only a couple of Dreepy on the board, you've got to be a little bit afraid if you're Paolo, especially going up against Slow King, which is known for dealing with those low HP Pokemon early on pretty quickly. Paolo's going to have to move quick to overcome this as Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking comes down to cherry pick 2 cards to the top of Ian's deck, which he'll then be able to take using Kangaskhan.
Yeah, it's a great combo that we've seen in a lot of variants, a lot of different decks over the time that has been together now, just being able to be in the active spot, use that run errand, draw 2 cards, and really start to kind of set up the board state where you can apply a lot of pressure to your opponent's side. We're going to be keeping an eye out on certain techs, of course, throughout this matchup as well. But, you know, how Ian has to play this is maybe just try and dismantle it through certain cards, like that Kyurem that we've seen in decks like Slow King before. And when you're not protected by anything like a Shaman, it's going to be real scary soon.
Very much so. And of course, Dracloak doesn't get us out of the HP total that Kyurem can go towards. Now, of course, we get to see telepathic energy, a fantastic utilization in this deck. Whenever you attach it to a psychic type Pokemon, you can search your deck for 2 further basic psychic Pokemon and put them straight on your bench, which is crucial for a strong setup if you're Robb. Ian Robb. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, we do see the Latias EX and the Monkey Dory coming down now. The Monkey Dory is, again, another very unique inclusion on Ian's side of the board. Knowing he's up against a Dragapult who likes to spread damage counters across the board, well, when you've got Monkey Dory to fling that damage counters back, and we get to smooch him in the active spot as well to really accelerate some energies onto the board state with that delightful kiss.
Smoochum giving that delightful kiss, and looks like both of those energy are going down onto that single Slowpoke. They must be attached to the same Pokemon after all. And of course, over to Paolo's turn, where we start things off with this Ultra Ball handheld fan being shown there. A really fun addition to a Dragapult deck that I think especially would be very strong in the mirror match.
Yep, so this is going to be a vital turn here for Paolo to try and stabilize against Ian's deck and board state, knowing that he is staring down at the double energies. This is what I'd like to see, that judge to really try and impact the whole game and turn here. Try and slow down Ian, because outside of this judge, there's not really much protection Paolo can really play. So he's just going to have to hope this judge really sort of handles the matchup and just sticks long enough that he can get into a Dragapult TX.
Yeah, Meowth certainly does give that last-ditch catch, last-ditch effort to try and just slow Ian Robb down enough. Hopefully, Paolo will have some success with that. Going into our Recon Directive, and we get the second Dracloak off the Recon Directive so that Paolo can go ahead and evolve the second Dreepy, go for another Recon Directive, and he has one more decision to make, taking the Team Rocket's Watchtower. This could slow Ian down as well by turning off the ability of his normal type Pokemon, just like Mega Kangaskhan EX.
Yeah, so important here. So that does come straight onto the board state, slowing down and stopping run errands, now no longer available unless we have a counter stadium in Ian's hand. Of course, does have to maneuver into the Kangaskhan, but then that would be the use of the retreat on that turn already. There comes a Cypher Maniacs code breaking. Sure, looking, as we've already discussed, to cherry pick 2 key cards here, but can you just find a way to draw into them?
Would need to possibly bump the stadium. I'm not sure if Ian had it in hand, but it looks like would. Okay, yep, changing down into the Kangaskhan. Doesn't look like Ian has a way. It's just going to be a draw for turn next time. So over to Paolo for draw for turn and our Recon Directive.
Yeah, it looks like that judge definitely did stick around, really slowing down the game plan. Ian did obviously put the stadium to the top of the deck with that Cypher Maniacs, but Paolo has an additional turn here to just try and get out of range of something so scary. Does Recon Directive into that Lily's Determination or a Crushing Hammer there. So could try and slow the game down that way as well. But Buddy Buddy Poffin being played. Doesn't want to give further easy targets if a Kyurem does come in at some stage as well. But you just have to keep going. You have to keep building that board. If you don't, you are staring down at a very, very scary attacker. Although it's only one Slowpoke at the moment anyway.
And I think at this point, Paolo has to expect that that stadium bump has gone to the top of Ian's deck. Paolo choosing to go ahead and play more Dreepy to be a protective wall to help one another to stay in this game. Crispin comes down. We attach both energy to the Dracloak. Paolo then evolves straight away and looks like we're going swinging.
Yep, Phantom Dive is now live, and now we're going to have to be watching Paolo to see how he places those damage counters when he does announce the attacks. It's a Crushing Hammer heads first, removing that vital dark energy on that Monkey Dory. So wherever these damage counters come down on Ian's side of the board, will be a little bit harder to come flinging back with that Adrenobrain ability. 1 damage counter on the Latias EX for the moment, just to kind of bring it within range. And now it's just trying to apply pressure in various ways.
Here comes the Academy at night. Ian Robb bringing it back, finally able to use Run Errands and Lily's Determination to refresh the hand and hopefully jump out of that judge situation that Paolo forced him into. So Ian's now looking forward to try and push back at Paolo for that really demanding start.
Let's see how Ian can play out these 8 cards he gets from this Lily's Determination. Does find a Slowking. Does have, of course, because he was able to retreat into the Mega Kangaskhan on the previous turn, still has the opportunity to retreat into an attacker.
Here comes Slowking. Ian finally has Slowking set up on the board. And of course, with plenty of energy to boot. Moving a Darkness energy onto the Monkey Dory. Now Ian can start moving all of those damage counters back onto the other side of the board, which is only going to help when he's looking advantageously at a big attack. And here we go. We're starting off as a Dracloak is forced into the active position with Prime Catcher. It's a debatable topic what ace-spec goes into this deck, but this is why Ian has chosen Prime Catcher.
Yeah, he's the one who's 7-1 right now with this particular ace-spec, as we do just get the attack with Super Psybolt on the Dracloak, taking down the sort of consistency. The Recon Directive is now no longer available, and also pulls off the Lily's Clefairy EX that we had to keep an eye out for, that was in the prizes waiting.
Paolo now needs to make a very quick start of evolving his Dreepy quickly to keep up the pace. Not forgetting that, of course, Slowking has other attacks than Seek Inspiration.
Yep, Ian does have the additional Slowpoke on the bench now as well, so further protected if this Slowking does go down. Paolo, though, does still have a very scary Dragapult EX that can start, again, applying a lot of pressure with that Phantom Dive. Again, has to be staring down at that Monkey Dory with the Dark Energy. Could Paolo try and go for a Crushing Hammer again, just to try and limit what comes back at him?
I think you've got to, haven't you? So here
There it is.
That's a Crushing Hammer success, and that Darkness Energy is taken away from Monkey Dory, as Ian probably is not too happy. Paolo going in. There we go. We've got the first Phantom Dive. And now Ian has to make the decision of which Pokemon's being promoted after these damage counters are placed, going towards the 3 prize Pokemon of Mega Kangaskhan EX, but Paolo's not certain yet. It is really important where these damage counters get placed, because this is what can make or break the game.
Yeah, you want to be trying to maximize the value of the prizes you take here. Of course, Mega Kangaskhan does give up free prize cards, but it is back up to 130 HP now because of the Adrenabrain on that previous turn. And Paolo has taken at least one prize there, and he's been able to pick up a second Team Rocket's Watchtower. Can try and slow the game down a bit more if Mega Kangaskhan, for example, does get trapped in the active spot. Ian's going to be looking for a route here to actually get a significant attack off. We know he has Lily's Clefairy EX in hand, but is there a way to get a Psychic Attacker powered up and potentially take a massive knockout on this Dragapult EX?
Yeah, that's the trouble. I'm not sure we have the cards to be able to get more energy into play without Smoochum being utilized an extra time. We do play plenty of Wondrous Patch. I'm not sure if any are in the hand, though, for Ian. So it leaves... Oh, we're going for the... What? Ian playing a Crispin out of nowhere. Not typically a card that we see in this deck. Taking 2 energy, of course, because he runs the Darkness Energy, so he can go ahead and use that. Crispin, and we go in with the Lily's Clefairy for a full Moon Rondo knockout.
Yeah, and just like that, turned it around with this one-off Crispin in the list. Again, we've already highlighted that Ian is playing only this one copy because he does have that additional Dark Energy targets to allow something like Lily's Clefairy EX with that Fairy Zone ability to really just come in swinging for big amounts of damage. And it's probably been very unexpected from Paolo's side, because now he only has the Cloak on the bench. No energy is currently attached or committed to it. So if we're going to fire off another Phantom Dive, we're going to need to find something like a Crispin once again and actually take down this Lily's Clefairy. Otherwise, Lily's Clefairy might just run straight through Paolo's deck.
Lily's Clefairy typically having low HP is usually not considered a particular threat when dealing with a Dragapult deck, as a lot of people assume a Dragapult is going to be able to launch a big attack straight back. But in this scenario, Paolo is really going to struggle to bring that back into fruition, as we don't quite have enough resources if we're Paolo to be able to bring it back right now. Paolo going for the flip the script, 3 big cards. We did get a Pokebad. That's going to help a little.
Yep, it's also picked up that Crispin, but it's just double checking also what energies are available in the deck. Looks like there's a couple of different variants in there, as we do get the second Dracloak come down now. So we're rebuilding this board state. And we have additional opportunities to see 2 further cards now as well. So Paolo does now play the Crispin. Did, of course, get that extra double check there. Fire Energy and the Dark Energy coming into the hand. Now that Dracloak is semi-powered up, just needs a Psychic Energy and a Dragapult to come down. And we may be able to get a Phantom Dive off here. So how good is this Recon Directive?
I don't think it looked great, Alex. I don't think it looked fantastic. We still seem to have Darkness Energy and Fire in the hand. Paolo going for Crushing Hammer. It does not succeed on this occasion. So it is just the commitment of Fire Energy to a further Dracloak. And the consideration of a Budew was there, but he's decided just to go with the Buddy Poffin to shuffle up first, and then our Budew has come down. And of course, the Team Rockets Watchtower. Paolo now trying to slow Ian back down again.
Yep, just sort of confirming the sequence of actions here, because the Crispin was played, so can't play that Lily's Determination. Well, 2 supporters in a turn, I should say, as we do now maneuver into the Budew and just try and slow the game that 1 extra turn, because this is what we need. We need to find that Psychic Energy. We need to find that Dragapult EX. We do need to eventually retaliate into Lily's Clefairy EX, but let me try and slow the game down with that special red card, with a Budew Itchy Pollen item lock, and just try and stop Ian in his tracks for the moment, because special red card forces your opponent to shuffle their hand, or not shuffle their hand, shuffle their hand and put it to the bottom of their deck and then draw 3. Got there.
An effect we've had on plenty of cards, but not typically an item card. Ian has now replaced the stadium once again with Academy at Night, one of the most important cards for this deck to make its mark.
Yep, and with that run errand, we did see one of the other attackers, well, the attacks that we might be trying to utilize at some stage from Ian's side of the board. If we do get a slow king back up, we are getting a Cypher's Maniac being played by Ian. Just to, again, put 2 cards to the top of the deck. Maybe just saying, well, I can pause this turn for this moment, because although this Mega Kangaskhan has a lot of damage counters on it, still requires a full sort of Phantom Dive attack on it to take 3 prizes for Paolo's side of the board. But we can set up first, energy attachment to the Slowpoke. Just needs to get into that Slow King and the right attacker, and we're in a good spot.
But for now, Paolo's plan worked, and he managed to slow the turns down just a little bit, hopefully buying himself enough time to get his board better established. Lily's Determination comes down to attempt to do just that, and what he's looking for here is that energy. So let's see if these big draws can make a big impact.
Yeah, there are 2 in the discard right now. 1 is prize. Does need to find that Night Stretcher to be able to fire it off, but this is it. Instantly plays it. And now we'll have a Phantom Dive live once again. It's moved straight into the active. Knockout on the active, 3 damage, 3 prizes, and Monkey Dory and the Smoochum also taking damage counters, and that's it. That is the game 1 of Swiss Round 9. The first round of Phase 2, game 1 will go to Paolo.
Paolo bringing it back with Fire and Psychic, bringing all of that Dragapult goodness that we know. The comeback potential is limitless, and Paolo goes to show that no matter how oppressive that Slow King can seem, you can lace all of those combinations together and bring out a ferocious win, taking many prize cards in 1 turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's bring in Pablo to try and break down exactly how that all came about.
I mean, Ian almost had that very cool turn, putting the Darkness Energy back with the Academy at Night, wiping out that Dragapult off the board. I feel like things were really turning around for him, but of course this last turn, the 5 prize turn, was so good, and I think really shows how slow and steady can sometimes win the game and how strong Budew is against such a combo heavy deck.
Yep, just comboing so many cards together, and it's those damage counter placements that we saw, because he was deliberating putting it down on the Mega Kangaskhan earlier, but chose and decided not to, thinking I'm going to have to Phantom Dive this Mega Kangaskhan EX at some point anyway, so let me just make sure I can take easier, smaller prize Pokemon later down the line. As we do go straight into game 2 now, Ian's going to be trying to turn the tide here, starting once again with that Mega Kangaskhan EX. And just look at those prizes, Amy. What do we see?
Oh, I don't like them, Alex. I'm not loving that Ian has that Kyurem. Of course, we've got 6 Pokemon in the prize cards, but Ian Robb having that one of a Kyurem and that being in the prize cards in this matchup, especially when game 1 didn't really go his way, I don't love it. I'm gonna be real.
It's not a pretty sight, and Ian's gonna be looking through that deck to try and work out exactly, well, to work out that 25% of his Pokemon are currently sat waiting for him to take prizes to reach. That Kyurem is at the bottom, so maybe we'll get the chance to see it again pretty soon. But that Lily's Clefairy EX is once again hiding, but there are 2 copies, so maybe it's not too bad.
Just an energy, and moving on to Paolo's first turn of this Swiss Round 9, our first match of phase 2. Once again, Paolo doing his due diligence and making sure that he knows exactly which cards are in the prize cards. Now, we do have a little bit of a doozy. We do, of course, see Badoo in there. Badoo is a one-of in Paolo's deck, so we might not be seeing her this time.
Yeah, we saw how impactful that was in game 1, comboing together with that special red card, and then also the Team Rocket's Watchtower as well. Really slowing the game down to allow Paolo to really start setting up that board state.
Could be a very different game than we just saw, so buckle in, everybody, because we have more action from Paolo and Ian Robb to show. Of course, Buddy Poffin has done its best to attract the most important buddies of all. They are 2 Dreepy, of course, and what comes better than 2 Dreepy than 3 Dreepy? Attaching the fire energy to Monkey Dory, traditionally just to be used as a retreat cost, and Paolo is using Lily's Determination for that fresh hand.
Yep. Paolo's going to have to be scared a little bit, playing as if he thinks Ian does have Kyurem in the deck. So we're going to have to keep building out that board. We're going to have to try and accelerate as much as we can. I mean, we don't play rare candies. We are playing a lot of the sort of energy disruption cards in the deck. So, you know, those crushing hammers that we've seen already, the handheld fans. But right now, Paolo's going to be looking for more. That's why he's going for that 4th Dreepy as well with that Buddy Poffin.
You got to go wide, otherwise Kyurem could come a stomping. And we move over to Ian's turn, and now it's time for Ian to try and build that beautiful board of Slowking goodness. The energy attachment is fantastic because, again, he gets to then get 2 more basic psychic Pokemon and put them straight onto the bench. It's like a Buddy Poffin built into an energy, but a little bit better unless you don't want psychic type Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Ian's hand's actually looking pretty good as well. So, of course, we do get access to Latias EX. That Skyliner ability is now available to maneuver around so that we can get Slowking into the active spot. It looked like there was also a Cypher Maniacs code-breaking in hand alongside the run errand as well. So we can start to play around with what we have access to if we need to do so, and start trying to take some prizes so that we can maybe get some of those Pokemon out of jail.
Delicious combinations when it comes to cards like Cypher Maniac's Code Breaking, and the Mega Kangaskhan EX is one of the reasons I imagine Ian chose for Mega Kangaskhan to be in the deck. We're not using it like that right now, but that doesn't matter. Ian has absolutely mastered this deck, and I know that for absolute truth. Of course, he is just going to use it to set up ready for next turn.
Yeah, just eyeing up one of those attackers or Pokemon attacks that he will be trying to essentially utilize with the Slowking. Seeks inspiration as it now maneuvers into the active spot. There it is.
I can't believe it. It was a Drapion. It does 100 damage and poisons and paralyzes the opponent.
Yep, really unique way to just kind of allow a knockout to happen in between turns on this Monkey Dory, of course. Oh, no, of course. Because of the poison damage taking into effect, which then doesn't activate. What, Amy?
It won't activate Pheasantipity. So a little less card draw for Paolo if he so wished this turn. Ian taking that first prize card of the second game of this Swiss round 9. And of course, it is recon directive time once again, taking that judge. It worked well last time. Is Paolo going to go a similar route?
Yeah, definitely a deliberating choice here.
But you know what first?
More drag cloaks.
More recon directive! Say it with some gusto, Alex.
I mean, it's one of those where you got to keep playing as if Karam is still an out for Ian here. So it's just like, I need a fourth. I need everything. So it's a very, very scary position to be in, especially when all 3 of your Dracloaks now are on the bench. There's the 4th.
There we go. That's smooth from Paolo. We've got Dracloak for days, and Crushing Hammer fails.
We've gone 50-50 for them so far. I think that's 4 played, 2 heads very early on.
I'd say that's good maths if you ask me, but now it's time to judge the situation up. And we're not calling a judge, of course. We're using the card judge, silly. So Paolo goes ahead and shuffles his hand into his deck, draws 4, but guess what? So does Ian, and so the lock begins when now Paolo's going to try and make Ian jump through those hoops. He has less card draw potential than Paolo does, so this should be a good play.
Yeah, so we get a chance to see from this recon directive a choice of that Serendipity EX we know which isn't live despite the knockout between turns because of the poison. We get the second recon directive now. Team Rocket's watched out in hand, so we've got some more disruption or disruptive plays, I should say.
I like the look of the psychic energy, but equally Paolo seems to think the special red card is quite spicy. I think it's not quite going to be utilized yet, but Paolo believes in the power of the red card.
Just wants to keep hold of it, but it just looks like maybe an Ultra Ball away. Serendipity comes down onto the board. Again, just maybe prepping it for a future turn. So if anything does go down, we can use that flip the script to draw more cards.
But it can't be used
double check.
now.
Yeah.
Nope, nope, nope.
Good catch. Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, can't be utilized right now, but won't be threatened by a Kyurem. So it kind of feels okay for Paolo if you want to bench it now and kind of prep that for another turn. On to Ian's turn to now try and string together the optimal play. My goodness!
That's one way to do it. We could go straight into a Seek Inspiration for a Slow King discard, and now we can attack with that Super Sideball and take the knockout. Wow, I didn't expect that.
Genius, I tell you, Alex.
Just why not? I mean,
what a play.
We didn't even get a chance to see Ian's hand and what else he could have done.
Doesn't matter.
But why bother? Why bother?
And do you know what he took off the prize cards, Alex?
The big, the bad.
The Kyurem.
Okay, there you go. But how many more targets will there be on the board of Paolo's side here as we now have a fully powered up Dracloak in the active spot? Flip the script, used. Let's try and turn this game around. There's Dragapult.
Oh, that's a 1 Dragapult. Let's count them with me, everybody. We've got, okay, we see a Crushing Hammer. Ooh, Crispin comes to Paolo's hand. This is a lovely set of cards. Buddy Poffin just to top it off. We've got all of the treats in the kitchen and Crispin to cook them up for us.
Yeah, we like to see those accordion hands of so many cards available, so many options, and this is where Dragapult EX really comes to the fore. It's now in the active spot. This Phantom Dive will be able to take the knockout on this Slow King in the active spot. And then it comes down to where these damage counters can drop as well. There comes another Dragapult. Let's protect them. We want them on the board where we can. Phantom Dive, knockout on the active. 6 straight onto the Slowpoke, saying if you can't protect this by evolving it up, it's going down.
A huge turn if you're Paolo, not only protecting your own board from the threat that was Kyurem. Now Ian Robb's going to need to really turn the tide back in his favor, but how's he gonna do it? We start with running some errands, of course, as Mega Kangaskhan EX does so well.
Yeah, and this may be the scenario where Ian is again ruining the fact that Lily's Clefairy EX is trapped in those prizes. We know it was there when we saw it a little bit earlier, but can we find a good enough of an attacker This is for Ian to try and dig through with that Serendipity EX here. That flip the script's going to be one way to see some more cards, see some more important Pokemon perhaps, to try and turn this around.
But was it enough? I saw an energy in the hand. I'm not sure if he has anything else. He does have the Lee's Clefairy deck still, but we would need a Wondrous Patch to help Ian to piece together this turn. Here it is. Here comes the Clefairy.
So we have the Skyliner available now. Can we just get the energy attachments?
Well, that's a 1.
Of that telepathic psychic energy. Can Ian just find the right pieces here to just instantly return KO on this Dragapult EX and take him down to 2 prize cards away from leveling the series? There's a Wondrous Patch as well. Of course, now Lily's Clefairy can maneuver in the active spot. 7 benched Pokemon, plus the Full Moon Rondo's 20 base. It's 160 damage, ×2 for the weakness because of Fairy Zone, and it'll be a massive knockout. But Academy of Night being used first, and it's a massive big KO on that Dragapult EX there. Ian being able to find back-to-back knockouts against Paolo. One of them, very special Seek Inspiration earlier, of course, but now is holding on to a second Lily's Clefairy EX.
Paolo goes ahead and powers up that Dragapult using Crispin's Kitchen, using some cards, but not their effects, just to burn them through the deck because Paolo isn't going to need them and wants a more advantageous hand out of this unfair stamp. The stamp of approval that Paolo might need to set himself up for success against Ian, and Ian's back-to-back combination of ferocious attackers. And Paolo is still firm in the Fairy Zone, and you know who doesn't like the Fairy Zone? Dragapult.
So Paolo here, still looking to try and find a way to get 5 prize cards. Of course, there is that knockout on the Lily's Clefairy EX, which will bring him down to 3. And the quickest and easiest way from then onwards would be to take out the Mega Kangaskhan EX, but there's a lot of HP to deal and go through. But we can actually take down that little Slowpoke waiting on that bench as well. So Paolo will be looking to try and target that with ease. And if we can just survive maybe another Lily's Clefairy, maybe keep the bench quite small, don't go too wide, really limit how much Lily's Clefairy EX can do in terms of damage output. There it is, Phantom Dive, Slowpoke knocked out as well, that's 3 prizes, and then a couple of damage counters going on to Serendipity and Latias EX now, both within range of a future Phantom Dive, and now it's level again.
Oh, Wondrous Patch and Cypher Maniac's co-breaking. This could be it. I think Ian has it. We just need to load. He just needs to load up the Latias, and we're in the Fairy Zone.
Yep, with the energy attachment as well, we can get some more Pokemon onto the board. We're going to 7 in total of bench. There's Wondrous Patch. There's enough energy now, and it's a massive knockout to take game 2 of the Swiss round 9. And that's one way to go super wide yourself, despite your opponents unable to do so.
Ian Robb bringing it home, placing Paolo firmly in the Fairy Zone, which only spells defeat. And a beautiful win for Ian Robb, forcing weakness upon Dragapult. Although it doesn't inherently have a weakness, Ian Robb is its weakness.
Yeah, Paolo was only really 1 turn away. 1 boss's orders on his next turn could have taken that game and this series, but Ian played it perfectly, able to bring it back level, and we're going to a game 3 in this matchup.
Game 3 in our first match of Phase 2 here at the Pokemon International Championships, North America, of course, in New Orleans.
Yep, and I feel like, Pablo, this game 2 was one bit of a spectacle from Ian's side, I think.
Certainly, that blind seeking inspiration that we are just seeing. I mean, the odds of hitting a Pokemon probably not in Ian's favor. I did notice he had Stadium and Night Treacher, so he could have set it up himself, but he took the risk, and clearly it paid off.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we're going into this game 3 here with plenty of time on the clock as well. We're going to be keeping an eye out on exactly how maybe Ian has to try and do that again, because he had to be very sort of pushing the sort of scene because he had to take prizes, he had to get some things going, he had to be aggressive. As we get now the start of this game 3, and we get Paolo looking at those at the deck and all the cards that are actually in the prizes right now, Amy.
I don't like them. I'm looking at 2 Crispin, Alex. And you know what? There's only 3 Crispin in Paolo's deck, and that is one of the ways that we saw Paolo overcome Ian's strategy in the last game then, and even that wasn't enough for Paolo. So now having to possibly take things slower, not being able to kind of cherry pick as much because Paolo doesn't run too many Meowth. It is just that one Meowth EX, and Meowth EX is a little bit of a low HP Pokemon. It can be a little bit scary going up against Slowking. So Paolo's the expert, so keep your eyes glued, everybody, because if anyone can overcome that not so advantageous prize map, it's going to be Paolo.
Yeah, we've got the energy attachment on Pheasant Dipty, giving that pivot option on the next turn. Ian straight in with that run errand. We get a chance now, as Ian also gets a chance to go through the deck, to take a look at those prizes. Just a couple of different cards there. I mean, that one of Kyurem is once again sort of sat, waiting in those prizes, waiting to be unleashed out of the prizes that he has there. But it's not looking too bad at all. I mean, we play a couple of Latias EX. So let's see which direction Ian goes with this. We get the Meowth down now. It's a last-ditch catch for a supporter card.
Also noticing that Ian does have the Smoochum in the prize cards, and again, that is a one-off card that Ian's running, so might be a little slower on the energy acceleration in the early game as well for Ian. Hopefully that won't be too impactful for him, but just like Paolo, we have a slightly slower energy game right here, and so this might end up being quite even. Ian going in for that Meowth, of course. We're going for Lilies. Ian needs a more advantageous hand. The first one wasn't it. Let's see if Ian can piece together a better turn. We need some Slowpoke. Ian needs the Slowpoke. We miss them on. We miss seeing them on the bench. Where are they?
This is not looking too pretty. I mean, when we're playing a slow king deck, we definitely need some Slowpokes.
There's a Slowpoke in Ian's hand, but whether he chooses to play it down or not is another matter.
Yeah, Lily's Clefairy EX coming down with an energy attachment, just prepping it for a future turn.
I'm going to have to keep missing that Slowpoke. Ian clearly knowing that it's not Slowpoke's time. And so on to Paolo for the first recon directive of this game 3.
Wow, okay, so there, it looks like there was a choice of another Dreepy from that recon directive. Again,
Ooh,
just
that's a tough choice.
Needs to set up that board. Again, you have to keep playing as if Ian eventually has access to that Kyurem and that incredible attack that it has that can just decimate a board. So we do get the Dreepy coming down along with Badoo, which we saw Paolo cherry pick it from a Pokepad earlier. So we're going to go straight into it, try and slow down the game a little bit more. Don't give Ian the chance to have an easy way out to get more Slowpokes or more Pokemon on the board, as we get an energy attachment onto the Dracloak as well. Paolo there, he's got to be feeling pretty comfortable when you're able to just try and stem the flow of the whole game, but just an instant response. Amy.
Oh, wow. Okay, Ian says, you know what? No, itchy pollen, you shall not. It does not affect me, for I have the Slowpoke. And of course, Lily's determination, Ian making sure to kind of choose to hold back with those Slowpoke until this turn, which is going to allow Ian to have a fresh hand to work with straight off the bat and actually be able to stick in this with not too many worries about not being able to play items right now. Instead, choosing just to make a huge hand of cards and have a wonderful bench. Now, Paolo needs to bring the heat and keep getting ready for a big Dragapult. Of course, we're going to need that fire energy, and Paolo goes ahead and he attaches that, and we got a crushing nope. We got a crushing nope because crushing hammer did not succeed.
Very impactful judge here. We saw Ian actually go up to 10 cards in hand after that Lily's Determination and run errands. So now being able to bring him back down to earth to just 4 cards with that Judge being played by Paolo. Paolo, however, will need to try and actually start setting up a second Dragapult EX where possible as well, because he will be staring down at that Lily's Clefairy EX with an energy already attached. And even if we start swinging away with one Dragapult EX, unless we have a second one ready to go, it means that that Lily's Clefairy EX could just start really dealing a lot of damage.
Okay, Recon Directive. Will Paolo be able to continue to piece together these Dragapult, like you say, Alex? Not looking very fruitful. Oh, but that is a nice unfair stamp. That's pretty nice. Not the most ideal hand right now, though. One more Dreepy for Paolo on the bench.
Gets a Team Rocket's Watchtower into play as well. Just slowing down the game completely for Ian. So the Judge and the run errand really causing
some problems there. Yeah, goodness gracious. Oh, hello, Wondrous Patch.
Yeah, just a knockout from the Slowpoke. It's not something we'd expect, but the tackle being able to take down Badoo here. And now we've got the Dracloak with the double energies attached right now in the active spot. Paolo will be looking, like I said, he really needs to get another energy on another Dracloak on this turn.
Oh, it's not quite there, is it though, Paolo? Not yet. There's a little more draw power in these Dracloak yet, but I can't see an energy, but that is a good Dragapult off of that Recon Directive for Paolo. I can only imagine that we're going to see a big attack very soon.
Yeah, we're just gonna. Is it the case that we have to expect to see Paolo take down this Lily's Clefairy this turn with his Dragapult, with trying to find a boss's orders, rather than actually swinging into this Slowpoke in the active spots? Because you know that retaliation Full Moon Rondo's coming.
Mm-hmm. And it's not a pretty sight. Okay, Paolo still piecing together this turn wondrously. Of course, yes, as you said, Alex, we've got to see some energy on that Dracloak and a crushing hammer. I can't see the result, but I can only assume that unfortunately it was not successful once again. And of course, we Phantom Dive into the active spot, taking out that Slowpoke and dealing some extra damage with a big old KO and plenty of damage counters, which we've seen to great effect when placed perfectly, as we have seen already in this best of 3.
Yep, so right now, Ian has decided to move the Mega Kangaskhan EX into the active spot. Run error not live because Team Rocket's Watchtower for the moment. Skyliner does mean any basic in the active spot does have free retreat anyway. I believe there was energy in Ian's hand as a poker pad is being played again. Can start trying to be real cheeky with those damage counters on his side of the board if we can get another energy attachment. Maybe through Wondrous Patch onto the Lily's Clefairy EX. Get the manual attachment to the Monkey Dory at some stage, and you can really start to play around with what's on your board. There it is, Psychic Energy actually being attached with the Wondrous, Dark Energy on the Monkey Dory, and then there goes Lily's Clefairy into the active spot, Amy. Full Moon Rondo.
Oh, delicious attack, taking down a big bad Dragapult. Lily's Clefairy knows exactly how to deal with that Pokemon indeed. Here we go now. We get to see Paolo start to bring this back. That we saw it last game, and it wouldn't surprise me. There's another Dragapult. There's a Fire-type energy, and the Crushing Hammer.
It was a head.
Success! No energy for Monkey Dory and an unfair stamp. Hugely impactful A-spec, but why, Alex?
I mean, unfair by name, unfair by nature. You can play this only when one of your Pokemon were knocked out during your opponent's last turn. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck. You draw 5, your opponent draws 2, and then when you're also slowing down your opponent with Team Rocket's Watchtowers, you're taking out the threat on the board, that Lily's Clefairy EX with a Dragapult. this is the position that you want to be in. You can start toying around with your opponent's bench as well because you removed the dark energy from the Monkey Dory. It's just then, can Ian find a way out? Well, Paolo's going to be doing his best to stop that.
Paolo's been doing a great job so far at forcing Ian into awkward corners and situations every single turn. And Paolo's going for it once more with, of course, Phantom diving straight down into that Lily's Clefairy EX. Now with a new accessory of Handheld Fan.
Yeah, Paolo's ripped the 2 Crispins out of the prizes. Ian's trying to work out. I saw a little shake of the head there. Don't know if that's a little bit of a tell, but sometimes you do give things away, especially when you have to go into deep thought and working with only 3 cards in hand. 2 from the unfair stamp, 1 from the top deck. But oh, I mean, there was a stadium already. So we have Run Errand back live.
Mega Kangaskhan EX now opens the door, heads out to do the errands, and thankfully does come across a couple of cards that Ian can use this turn, but sequencing his turn will be essential to staying in this game and not letting Paolo batter at Ian's defenses. We're going straight in first as we see an Ultra Ball played by Ian.
Yeah, it looks like eyeing up that Lily's Clefairy EX again, trying to find an easier knockout, I should say, on the Dragapult EX. There are no energies on Ian's side of the board right now, and generally as attackers, requires 2, so we're going to have to try and go for that Wondrous Patch. Again, we know 1's been used already, at the very least, so there should be maybe 2 left in deck. Lily's Determination will allow Ian to see 6 cards after shuffling in, but I don't think there was actually anything in hand.
No, that was Ian's lot. So now fresh 6 cards. Will they save the day for Ian?
I don't think we saw it as a Passover.
No.
Having to leave Mega Kangaskhan. There's the boss's orders, and that will be it.
That is it. Of course, we see Paolo bringing the action with Dragapult EX for a huge win against all odds again.